This video is on my final critique for the winter term of 2017. During final critique, the student will show all of the work that they made during that term and then the previous break before. So all the work in that time you show all together. It's a private critique. It's just you and the two instructors, Matt and Magda, and you all talk about what your strengths and weaknesses are and then things that you can do to help yourself improve. This is the work that I showed. I did little master copies of details, hands by Sargent. A portrait by Zorn, and portraits by Rembrandt. Color figure studies from life. My cast painting and the transfer drawing for it. My first portrait and the transfer drawing for it. A quick portrait drawing. A block-in of a figure painting. A long pose figure painting. The transfer drawing for it. And my little pencil drawings. One of the positive things that Matt and Magda said that I've been doing is working on my transfer drawings, and my transfer drawings are getting, one, a whole lot faster, but I feel like I am getting better at them. I'm figuring out what's the important information I need to get down to express the gesture and the important parts of the light and shadow shape to really describe form. And also, I mean, it's probably just because I keep doing more and more of them that I'm getting better at doing the transfer drawings, but I think it's also the more I paint, the more I get better at drawing, because my drawings start to get this painterly look to them, like I'm thinking of laying down brushstrokes rather than line, and I feel like, well, with a paintbrush you can mass in areas really fast with a paintbrush, so I think because of that, in drawing it takes longer to build up tone. I just will start throwing charcoal down on the paper to try and get it as fast as I can with paint. And also I think painting has also helped me understand mass in a better way. So translating that to drawing, it's just getting the mass down better on paper as well. Magda also said it's nice to see those little master copies that I was doing of Sargent, Zorn, and Rembrandt. And she said that she could definitely see the different styles that Sargent, I'm painting the Sargent in a Sargent way where it's these more fluid brush strokes, and Rembrandt kind of has a more choppy look to how he lays paint down sometimes. And she was saying that it's good to not just be copying master copies in just getting the image down, but you're doing it in your own style, but to really try and copy and learn how to paint like how those painters did and try to figure out how they use their brush to get the effects that they did. And so she said that's good because then once I kind of get different ways of using paint from different master copies, that I can be applying all those different techniques of either fluid brushstrokes or choppier ones into one painting to have a more interesting painting, and then hopefully even develop something of my own that's maybe a combination of all these things that's also really interesting to look at. The thing that they both said that I should be working on is working on getting the impression and the drawing close to the same time as I can. Definitely mostly get the impression a lot faster. So those two things are quite different in my mind, and that might be why I can't do them at the same time. I feel like I will attack a drawing or painting, but I'll be working on just getting the structure down, which that's what they mean when they say drawing, getting the structure of the object or whatever down. And then once I get that, I will then work on the impression. And impression is more like the impression of color, light effect, edges. It's not as much, it's your first impression, so what you see. And that's hard for me to get that down, because when I start to do that and start throwing paint down to get the quick impression of it, to lose lines where you need to have them lost or sharpen them up, it's hard to do all that at once quickly without losing the drawing. So I can get the drawing or I can get the impression, but I feel like once I work on the drawing, I'm not getting the impression, so the thing will look too sharp and not as naturalistic as it could, and then vice versa, it'll look, getting the impression, things will start to get too kind of nonsensical where it doesn't kind of resemble the objects as well, because I start to lose the structure, because I'm more than worried about making it like naturalistic and like of a light effect or something. So things just get kind of haywire and don't make sense. I think that's something that I'm going to be working on a lot, because I don't see in my brain, I can't even think of how I would marry the two yet in a realistic way, because I know that I focus on the drawing or focus on the impression, and I don't do it at the same time. I was kind of telling this to Matt and Magda too, like that sounds like something that would be really difficult for me to work on, though I see why I need to work on it. And Magda said to always make sure that you get the drawing first and then work on the impression, because she said it can be a lot harder to get the impression. Everything's like soft and fuzzy, and it's harder then to find lines in that and the structure in that. And she said it's better, or it would be better for me to find the drawing first and then kind of loosen up to find the impression within that, and then tighten the drawing up again, and then probably just go back and forth between the two. So I don't know if that made sense, because I kind of don't understand it so much. I understand it, but not enough to, I guess, communicate it clearly and kind of understand it in theory and not in practice yet. They said a silly thing during my final critique too. It was actually the first thing they said. I walked in and they said that they were noticing that I'm really good at painting the left butt cheek. And they were referring to the long pose painting, and then I had a color study that was of a figure from a back view, and saying that I painted it in both instances, the left butt cheek was painted really simply, and said everything that I needed to with as little information as possible, which is kind of the goal for painting, is to paint everything that you need, but very simply. And so I think they said something too, like, I'm good at doing the left one, but they'll make me famous for painting a really good right butt cheek or something like that. Now to be more serious, so last week, a week before my final critique, I had talked to Matt and Magda, telling them that I just wanted to talk to them about my student life and how long I would be being a student for. Because I had been at the Atelier, this is my 4th year at the Atelier. I have one more trimester and that would make it 4 years. And usually people will do 4 years at an Atelier, and it's like 2 years at drawing and then 2 years in painting. And I spent a little longer than 2 years in the drawing program, and that was my choice, because I had talked to Matt about when we were talking about when I should be moving onto the painting program, and he said that I could move on if I wanted to, but I was saying, do you think it would be better if I would stay in the drawing program a bit longer and do another figure drawing to really try and get as much as I can out of the drawing program before I move on to painting? Which was a hard decision for me, or was hard for me to say all that, because I definitely love painting a lot more than I do drawing, so to put it off after not painting for 2 years was kind of painful. But I really want to make sure that I'm getting as much as I can out of this school while I'm here, So I did spend a bit longer in the drawing program than I needed to, but I think it was really beneficial. And so now I'm just feeling pretty antsy being a student and making academic paintings. I really want to be making my own pieces that are exploring the themes that I want to explore, and play around with paint and be a bit more aggressive and even destructive with how I'm painting, and just play around with paint in a way that's trying to get the images that I have inside of me out, and not necessarily be following the academic process on how to make a painting. And so that's the reason why I'm feeling like I don't want to be a student for much longer, and I might want to be done being a student at the Ravenswood Atelier. Though at the same time, I know that I'm in a very rare situation where I do have a wonderful, perfect space to be making paintings and just be studying painting. And also Matt and Magda are really, really knowledgeable instructors, and they're really generous with teaching. And if I have any questions, or if I want to learn anything specific about painting, if they don't know it specifically, they seem to always know someone or a resource that they can give me that I can go and learn it. And I do get critiques for them twice a day, which is, I think, pretty huge. So I'm definitely, and it's a small school too, so I do get a lot of attention from the instructors. So I do feel like I do learn a whole bunch every day. And so I want to make sure that I'm soaking up everything that I can at Ravenswood while I still can. And then during my final critique, looking at all the paintings that I'd made over this term all together, I'm seeing that I'm still not the painter that I want to be yet, and there's something missing from my work that I really want in there, and I don't know if I can quite put my finger on what that is exactly. And I'll probably always feel like that, always feel like I want to be doing something more with my paintings to make them better and more beautiful, more interesting to look at. But with that, I do feel like at Ravenswood I'd still have a lot that I can learn from Matt and Magda, and I think in the long run it would probably be more beneficial for me to hang in there being a student for longer than maybe what I originally anticipated, so I can really get everything out of it that I can. And now I'm shooting this video at the end of my spring break. Our spring break was a week long, and I do feel now better about being a student for longer, and I still feel antsy that I want to be making my own images, but I do feel a lot better about it. And I think I was just really burnt out from this last term. Ravenswood is really like a boot camp for painting and drawing. It's really intense, or I should say it's as intense as you want it to be. And I'm a pretty intense person for my obsessions, like for painting and drawing. So pretty much when I woke up to when I went to sleep, I was studying, which makes sense why I would get worn out from it. So I think I do need to think or try and take breaks more often, perhaps, because feeling burnt out is really awful. But now that I am feeling not as burnt out and feeling better, I definitely think I want to be a student for a bit longer, I guess. So we'll see. Stay tuned.